Even though I can't show you guys Champions of Chaos content yet, we still are going to sprinkle in a few monogod matches here and there because we can still learn some things from said matchups. Today we're taking a look at High Elves versus Tzeentch. Turn coming in here with ELTHARION the Grim. He's got Silver and Guard up front. Very good choice with their expert charge defense. They'll be able to resist Forsaken. Obviously, the spell resistance super applicable here. And then just a bunch of archers. A whole bunch of archers to provide some counter fire. Up on the high ground, Shadow Walkers, which I believe we're playing this with unit caps on, which means they may have implemented... excuse me. For my reserves, I've got an Exalted Lord of Change with just Infernal Gateway and the Portal Glyph. The idea here is I'm going to try and save up Winds of Magic and funds to bring this guy out to drop a couple big nuke spells. Cultist of Tzeentch also with just the Gate of Tzeentch ability. A single Screamer there, a single Pink Horror. We've also got 4 Chaos Furies and 4 Blue Horrors. As for the High Elves here, 2 Silver Helms. They've also got a War Lion, 4 Lion Infantry, an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, and 4 Eltharion Reavers. Oh man, a fly literally just like flew in my throat. Nurgle, get out of here. Anyway, Shadow Walkers may have been actually implemented, I think, don't quote me on that. I'll double check and post in the comments below whether it's wrong. If I don't put a comment, just assume that that's right. Anyway, for myself, I've got a bunch of Forsaken, literally. 5 Forsaken up front, 4 spawn, including the Weird Spawn, which is actually my lord. Got a single Blue Horror and some more Blue Horrors coming out of reserve. Speaking of which, let's get to those. And now we are back. So, interesting for Turin to eschew one of the lords which has fire resistance, which it would seem sort of obvious to me to bring, that being like Tyrion, Teclis, or Imric. Depending on mount choices, any of those 3 can have very heavy fire resistance, which obviously is going to be super applicable in the Tzeentch matchup. I was sort of thinking about that and Dragon Princes and whatnot when I constructed this build, which is why I have relatively little blues. I have 3 sort of brought in just as a cheap extra bodies here, but ELTHARION's going to get the fun started already, charging into the side of these Forsaken here. Going to counteract with the spawns. Griffins are relatively light monsters, so we should be able to keep this thing pretty well locked in with the spawns if we can manage to get it on a full surround. Silver and Guards, I don't know if they were braced. Certainly they are glittering in the sun quite brightly. But the Forsaken are going to get in here and should do a pretty decent job in mowing them down. That being said, the Archers are also focus firing very nicely. 2 Forsaken are pretty much combat ineffective already. The other Forsaken, though, splitting up to attack on this flank here. Eltharion Reavers are going to be an excellent choice. I do have Furies, as you saw, in the Screamer in reserve, but those units won't have capture weight, whereas the Elven Light Cavalry obviously will, and Tzeentch doesn't have currently any Light Cavalry. I don't have access to Marauder Horsemen, or, you know, can't show them in this particular replay. That embargo's not up yet, but of course Tzeentch will get Marauder Horsemen. They'll also get heavily armored warriors for a front line, so those shielded warriors in particular would have been a nice bring as an force here, obviously, and then the Marauder Horsemen to help kind of counter skirmish and attack those Eltharion Reavers and whatnot. But at the same time, we are still doing a decent job in pushing them back. This ends up being a little bit of a macro mistake by me. I probably should have just sent the 1 Blue Horror to go capture here and kept the other 2 Blue Horrors in the vicinity to keep shooting and keep providing value against this stuff. As it is, we're going to collapse, and I am going really far into the corner here into Turn's deployment zone in trying to collapse these archers, but at the same time, I'm feeling the pressure like I really need to shut them down as quickly as possible. I've also got some lions in here. They're going to kind of bog down one of my spawns, so it ends up getting a little bit shot up. More cavalry coming in here, more Reavers, and Silver Helm's going to be deployed momentarily as well. Meanwhile, the Silver and Guards, victorious, move up and start to capture that objective. So value-wise, I'm trading a little bit down at the moment, but we should start to be able to pull things back as I mulch archers. Likewise, ELTHARION's also taking significant damage from the spawn circle beating him. Of course, he can't obviously heal himself quite easily with that sweet apotheosis, which he is going to do. And being on the Griffin, he'll get reasonably efficient healing percentage-wise out of that. The Silver and Guard also, Helm of Evress on them so they become unbreakable, are just going to continue to hold out there quite brutally, I might add, for myself. Not a great situation, although here I figured with the 2 Furies, maybe we could help this 1 Forsaken come in here and maybe win this fight, bring in these other Forsaken as well. The Furies are just wet noodling. They're all kind of wet noodling each other right now, to be honest, but the Blues, having been victorious, are going to move up to start shooting. I'm trying to get back in a position to shoot at these Eltharion Reavers, but I end up getting a little bit too close, and because I'm so close to Turin's deployment zone, he can also just bring out these Silver Helms and start to hammer home on the foul Demons of Tzeentch, so I know at least one certain rider of Rohan will enjoy this scene. The Elven Cavalry smashing through the foul Changer Demons. But anyway, yeah, my Spawn Lord goes down in the distance there. The weird Spawn Lord has basically been tying up like 3,000, no, not quite, like 1,500 to 2,000 points worth of archers, though, so that's pretty good in and of itself. The Furies are eventually victorious here, but lacking any capture weight. They're not able to actually secure the objective in time. The Blue Horrors have to follow up, and then for my own forces, these Blue Horrors overextending too far. Who's surprised? Now trying to get back the objective to defend. And at this point, I was really kicking myself for not bringing any Knights of Tzeentch. Nothing so far that Turin has brought has been a counter for them. I mean, I guess ELTHARION himself is sort of a soft counter, charging from the sky down onto the ground, getting some nice armor-piercing damage, but they would have helped me deal with the archers very efficiently with their heavy armor, barrier, and shields. It would have helped me push back these Silver Helms and just kind of maintain capture on the objectives as well. So definitely wishing I would have brought at least one Knight of Tzeentch, maybe deployed them already. But we still do have a chance to get back in this. We're going to double attack, and I actually just realized casting this that these are actually Shadow Walkers and that Shadow Warriors, so due to the anti-infantry bonus, this is actually not going to go as well as you might expect. Certainly the Furies will come in and do a lot of damage on the charge, but you can see they're already getting chunked back pretty hard, and we'll see a little bit of Hand of Glory there for extra attack, up to 66 attack with a plus 12 bonus versus infantry. That is going to be a lot of damage output, pretty much not guaranteed on chance to hit, but very high chance to hit, let's say. Silver Helms also, or Reavers rather, getting a nice supporting charge here, and those Shadow Walkers actually might make it through the day, surprisingly enough. Silver Helms and Eltharion Reavers also helping to finish off some more of the spawn and Forsaken, and things are already looking pretty grim. ELTHARION the Grim, if you will, but I do have a Cultist up on the high ground, securing that objective. We have some more, Forsaken coming in. Unfortunately, these Blue Horrors are feeling very much undefended at the moment, but definitely also feeling loss of halberds. I mean, obviously, Warriors infantry, right? The halberds and the shields both would have been super useful in this circumstance against both the archers and the cavalry of the High Elves. Without them, definitely feeling the pain. Even like the Marauder spears, right? That Tzeentch is going to get access to. Would have been quite nice here. But anyway, Blues are going to try to defend. Nice little volley on those Reavers right there. There's so many unit models of them too that at the very least they can try to keep fighting as well as they can. Over here we've got the Cultist on the summon here. Or with the summon, rather. I didn't end up bringing out my caster at all, too, which is a huge waste. I mean, obviously, Tzeentch not utilizing any magic whatsoever is a mistake, but, you know, it's kind of how things go in the heat of battle. Also, one of the reasons why taking big, expensive monsters or lords in reserve often is not a great way to do things. And just in general, those expensive monsters or lords, if you're going to bring them, they have to be in your starting army, but even then, oftentimes they do struggle to pay for themselves or to win the battle, even if they do pay for themselves. You guys will see a replay soon with Kugath, sort of showcasing that. A little bit of a spoiler alert, but anyway, Spawn of Tzeentch, Forsaken, also going to try and come in here. If I can get this high ground objective secured and maybe keep this outside objective secured for a reasonable amount of time, it should be okay. The Horrors actually do end up raiding all right. They managed to push back some War Lions, raid okay against the Reavers. Not in time for me to actually send some reinforcements there, but certainly we have been able to defend. Unfortunately, up here, though, more Silver Helms come through and shut things down, and it's just, it's not looking great, although these Forsaken and Spawn can come in here and push them back pretty heavily. Points-wise, I'm not too far behind either. I'm just still like 1,100 behind. Well, yeah, close to 1,100 behind. So not too bad, but this objective is pretty quickly going to get secured by Turin once he gets like his archers and his other cavalry on there. This one likewise will pretty quickly be secured by me, but of course I need 2 objectives to actually get ahead on points. And I say will be pretty quickly secured by me he actually gets a really nice kind of draw here with a nice multi-surround. Yeah. Silver Helms and the Silver Guard and Eltharion the Grim coming in here and comboing all quite nicely. I love the use of Eltharion here as well. He's kind of an underrated lord, honestly, for a lot of Warhammer 2. Probably not the best lord, still a little bit of a meme lord. He's kind of getting beaten up by Spawn again, but sort of the flying tank lord in a way, similar to a role that like Boris Todbringer might fill, or Lewin Leoncoeur, or Empire or Bertonia, respectively. That flying, self-healing lord that can go around to different parts of the battlefield on a griffin, drop some heavy armor-piercing charges, and support different engagements. Never necessarily going to win a 1v1 versus a big nasty, like a Bloodthirster, obviously, but in this matchup, I mean, even against something like Lord of Change, right? With that Fang Sword of Eltharion doing magic damage and giving himself a damage spike as well, I mean, he's going to trade against any single entity Tzeentch very efficiently, and just in general will probably be a fairly solid Lord choice here, even despite the lack of fire resistance, although I feel the High Elves don't necessarily have a lot of bad choices against Tzeentch, it seems like, from a Lord choice perspective, and certainly this matchup will change significantly, like I said, with the inclusion of the Marauder Horsemen, the Marauder Spearmen, the Warriors, both shielded and with halberds, all going to change the dynamic of this matchup, but I do still think that from a Lord's perspective, I mean, I don't see how Village changes this that much, like a foot caster, you know, hybrid character. Maybe he'll be relatively tanky and you can kind of use him to just stand on objectives and help secure, but I mean, he's a foot caster lord, which means he can impact the battle with spells, but foot lords in general tend not to be extremely impactful unless they have some kind of crazy unique mechanic, which I think, if I remember right, Village has some kind of spell mastery thing, which is not, I mean, I don't know. Unless it's like a significant amount of spell mastery, it's probably not going to be enough to actually make a difference. But anyway, speaking of making a difference, these Forsaken heroes into the center, they actually managed to clear out this objective and hopefully get it secured. I'm actually, like, yeah, frustratingly, I feel like I did well, but certainly not well enough to win. And just overall, yeah, it's an interesting matchup for sure. I kind of like the High Elves' chances, even after Tzeentch gets their DLC units. I still think that the High Elves have a pretty good chance here. Like I said, from a Lord's perspective, I give the advantage clearly to High Elves. I think their characters have some specific advantages here. In this matchup, Silver Guard are another great unit, just you know, kind of all around for a lot of things that Tzeentch can do. Silver Shield, spell resistance, expert charge defense, and large. You know, there's a lot going on there, a lot going for them, and I definitely feel that the High Elves have recently here. Khorne is one that I also think they could do well in, perhaps, so it could be a little bit tougher, but definitely think promising. And High Elves in general, in my experience in Domination, I've been doing pretty decent. Reason being, a lot of their mid-tier units are pretty good right now, actually, and especially in support of each other. And as a result, kind of mid-tier units, like a spam of good mid-tier units, is generally pretty good in Domination. So we'll see. I mean, certainly things seem promising, but it remains to be how the meta shakes out in the long term in competitive and in mid levels and lower levels of play. Let me know what you guys thought of this one, though. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. I guess I should run through and just kind of mouse over all the army values real quick. For myself, the spawns are definitely a highlight. Spawns and Forsaken, I mean, they're good here, certainly, just maybe not quite in the numbers. And with some better supporting units, like obviously having an actual caster to cast spells, even if I had just taken like a Min Herald here, and the cultist actually had spells when I brought him out, that would have made a pretty big difference. Likewise, maybe more Screamers, honestly, if you don't have access to the DLC for whatever reason, can't afford it, or choose not to buy it, maybe you just take Screamers. Certainly, they would have helped against all that cavalry, more so than the Furies, definitely. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, all that jazz, I already went through it. You know the drill. Hit the bell, and we'll see you next time.